my work takes me all over the country, and as you say, whether it's Kirkwood or Addo or any of these small places, that it's really just a microcosm of our bigger national political situation. There's nothing special about the little places that's really different. Bigger towns just have more resources to keep this out of the news. The resentments, the anger, the conflicts there in our society, and it just spills out more visibly in these smaller places.
What are those issues that come to the surface when you start digging into something like this?
It's like the easy answer, the short answer is inequality. We have absolutely incredibly serious inequality countrywide, and that is why we see these things. Let's take Addo and Kirkwood as current examples. Some of the people on the ground and don't see it as a side A and side B. It's fractured and splintered into 10, 15 groups. They will tell you that it's a wage dispute, an hourly rate. They will tell you that they're fighting about migrant labor and people that are taking their jobs. So on the surface, it seems simple enough, and that's where the problem comes in. We deal with it operationally. We deal with it in terms of the parameters of those disputes. But I think as your instincts are pointing out here, there's so much more under that surface. And that more has to do with inequality. People who live on farms, who barely survive, are barely able to provide for their families. And they live right in the middle of some very seriously rich people. That inequality has to create problems.
Let's go to the more wealthy part of this conflict. There you get different groups that wants to handle this in different manners, but there's a very strong group normally in between this that says to you, you know what, I look after my workers. I give them this and I give them that, and I take them to the doctor, I give them food. They shouldn't damage my property, so I'm not going to talk to them. What do you say in a case like this?
It's obviously, and there we have your different levels again. Those things are true. Those people do look after, with very few exceptions, do look after their people very well. But they treat the problem on that level, and that is why it repeats. The problem isn't about going to the doctor. The problem isn't even about the hourly rate, the difference between 23 Rand an hour or 30 Rand an hour. It's about perceptions. It's about lifestyle. It's about looking after your family. It's about security. It's about, all those things. And the way we speak to each other as well. We get angry with each other. We believe the other side is wrong, is unreasonable. We vilify each other. We call each other names. And you come and you burn my farm, or you kill my dog. And, I'm angry and I respond. And that sets off the cycle again until we either get tired or we know we have to get on with business. Of course, on that surface level, it's wrong to and it's silly. It's unwise to be polite, to burn the place that provides you with food and an income. But it has to be managed on a far different level. It's not good enough as we do this time, and as we've done the previous time a year or two ago. You can go to all of them. Business hurts first, in a more visible way. The community hurts for a long time, for months, for years, and then there's triggers. Business hurts, they concede, they negotiate, and a new deal is put in place. But none of the underlying currents, the underlying fears and anger is ever constructively dealt with. We put, just to get through this, just to get the factory door open again, we stick a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, and we hope and pray, and then we're surprised that but it doesn't go away.
So let me ask you, here you sit with, I know we're talking about different groups, but in a broad sense, you sit with two groups. The one group is, well, for most of their life, dependent on the other. The other group having sort of a governing role. I take you into service.
Yeah.
You work for me. You help me gather my wealth. How do you get people like that to talk to each other in a sensible way?
It's one of the most rewarding parts of my job when a client allows me the space to do that, where people who've been angry or quiet or silent or sulking or been working for each other for decades, once you sit down with them and you really allow them to speak to each other properly, and I'm not talking about some political correct being polite, I'm talking about meeting each other around a table as human beings. It is wonderful to see the difference that you know, where you acknowledge someone's dignity, and that goes both ways. You know, again, in our country, we see and we talk, we criticize the one side. You don't look after the dignity of the other side. But what about the dignity of both sides, or three sides, or seven sides?
I heard a couple of words now while you were talking to me. The one is honesty. The other is integrity, dignity, but also accountability.
Yeah.
So it sounds like important terms in a conversation like this.
Very much. And now we're back to the sources of conflict. If it's okay, as we do, we see it, and here we mustn't pick on the little towns. We see it in our politics, we see it in the big towns, where some of the most horrendous, irresponsible conduct, there's never any real result. And that extends to the employers in your example. You know, they also have some pretty irresponsible conduct. It just doesn't end in flames and fire and tires in the street. All sides treat each other with disrespect. All sides try to get the maximum out of the other one. And then when it does flare up, as it does, we pretend to, we really just want it off the book, off the TV screen. We really just want to get back to work, which is fair and understandable, but it doesn't get to the heart of the problem. We pretend that, okay, that's finished now and it's over. And we're all surprised and disappointed and angry here. That's a part of you know, we see that you can speak to people in these little towns. That leads us to a point. Generational cyclical conflict leads to cynicism. You know, you were like this with my dad. You people don't listen. You always like this, and now we stick labels on each other. And the next time this happens, it's sort of a confirmation of my bad thoughts about you. So, you know, it really causes me sleepless nights to see in a situation like this how people use the same language. They use the same blunt, outdated old tools in trying to get to a new place. We have so many, our country needs to do so many things and so quickly. And here we are using all the old tools. You know, in these little microcosms, an Addo, a Kirkwood, how do we think we're doing better with conflict? If anything, we're worse now than last year or the year before.
Andre Vlok, conflict resolution specialist, thank you very much for talking to us.
Always good to talk to you.